morning. It's Lisa with Lisa Heal Yourself. Today I want to talk about victimization, validation, and resistance. What is the main reason why we aren't healing when we have chronic illness? If you've ever wondered, why aren't I healing? And you go over the list of things. Is it my diet? Is it my environment? Is it my sleep? Is it what I'm taking or not taking? Maybe it's my inner work. What am I doing? What am I not doing? These are all great questions. But what I want to talk about today is really important. And it's about your resistance to healing. Now, this is a topic that's near and dear to my heart because I still find myself in resistance to healing and I have to catch myself. So I want to talk about resistance to healing. Why are we resisting healing? What exactly are we resisting? Those of you who aren't familiar with parts work, I want you to go check out my video on parts work, okay? Because you need a base understanding of what parts work is. So parts of you, and if you've never done the internal family systems, if you've never taken a look at this type of methodology and healing, it's really important. There's all kinds of different parts within us, right? We have protector parts, we have helper parts, we have resistant parts. We have a lot of different parts within us that keep us from healing. And the parts that keep us from healing are the resistant parts. Why are they resistant to healing? We want to find out why these parts of us, why they're there, because they're there for a reason. Every single part inside you is there for a reason. There are so many different parts. Your authentic part, your part that wants to be right, the controlling part, the part that needs validation, the part that needs sympathy, the part that needs to be loved, the part that wants to be accepted, the part that wants to be right? We have all these different parts. And so it's really important that we understand, different parts come out at different times. And you've probably seen that with yourself and with people that you love. Oh man, all of a sudden this part comes out and it takes over. So we have these parts because we have a lot of trauma in our history. And based on what we've been through, based on our relationships in our life, based on our patterning, based on our subconscious beliefs, based on our conscious beliefs, based on what other people believe, based on what we've been taught, based on our experiences. Now, when we break down these parts, you have many different parts. You have the part that wants to heal. There's a big part inside you that wants to heal, the healer. You also have a sick part inside you, okay? The part that's ill. You also have the healthy part, the part that's already healthy and whole. So you have many different parts, but if we just look at the sick part and the healthy part, or the ill part and the healer part, we'll see that a lot of times our sick part is resistant to healing. It's resistant. We have inner resistance. A lot of times this is unconscious and it's subconscious. So we don't even know. It's either buried deep down and it's hard for us to access, or we literally have no idea that this is going on. So this is not your fault. This is not a blame thing. This is just what's happening. And it's important to be aware of this. So why would we have a resistant part to healing? What is this part doing there? Why is it resistant? And how can we work with this part? Because remember, no parts are wrong. They're there for a valid reason. This resistant part of you that's protecting you from healing is there at a very deep level to do something for you. You are getting some benefit from that part stepping forth and being there. So it's important that we recognize that there are no bad parts. This resistant part to healing is not bad. Yes, it's getting in your way. Yes, we don't want this part there, but this is not a bad part. This part has a valid reason for being there, and it's instrumental for something in your life. It's giving you great benefit in some way, shape, or form. So let's just talk about resistance for a minute. Why would we resist healing? I mean, I've asked myself this so many times. Why? Why on earth would we resist healing? There are many different theories on this. And some of the theories are that we're benefiting in some way from our illness. We're getting something out of it. We're getting an excuse. We're getting the ability to stay stuck, stay safe, maybe not have to go out into the big bad world in some way, not have to get a job, not have to drive, not have to take responsibility, take care, whatever it is. There may be a reason why it benefits us to be sick. Now you could be saying, yes, that's true, but it's not strong enough because trust me, I would give it all up. Maybe you would, but maybe there's a part of you, and I'm not saying you, a part of you that wouldn't give it all up, right? And that's why it's hanging on. And so it's important for us not to just dismiss like that idea, because if we dismiss that idea, that part goes unnoticed, and that part, we never get to work with that part, heal that part, and then make room for the part of us that isn't in resistance to healing, that wants to come forth, right? It's just not as strong as the part that's resistant to healing. So we have to first acknowledge it. We have to be aware of it. Yes, I could be getting something out of it. Yes, I could be benefiting some way. There's other reasons why we're resistant to healing too. And for a lot of years, I looked at it from every different angle. Am I benefiting from this? What am I gaining? Would I give that up? Yes. Like I couldn't figure it out because I knew I was willing and ready to give it up. There was lots of different, like, yeah, maybe I'm hanging on to this. Maybe, yeah. But every time it came right down to it, would I be willing to give it up? The answer was yes. Was I open to it? Was I ready? Was I ready at which the rate of change that could happen? Because sometimes we hang on to illness because we know that if we change everything that needs to be changed in order to heal, the rate at which our life will change if we go from illness to health will be so fast, so uncomfortable, so scary, so filled with fear that we just aren't ready for it, right? Because we may have to leave our job, leave our marriage, leave our husband, leave whatever. We may have to move countries. We may have to do things. If we're like, yes, I will do anything it takes to heal. I will do every single thing right now, right in this minute that it takes to heal, and never think of the illness again, and only do things that resonate with my new healthy life. That may mean moving, going out and getting a job, doing this, doing that. Like, you can't hold on to the excuse anymore. You have to jump into the lifestyle that you say you want, but you're literally not doing because you're sick. But if you jumped full feet, 2 feet into it, you're like, if I was healthy, I'd be doing this and this and this and this. If you take away all those excuses and just start doing those things, sometimes our life would change at a rate that is so dramatically insane that the fear of the rate of change that healing would take in your life is so scary to people that they literally don't heal. So they heal in increments of the rate that they can accept the change. Let me say that again. Their healing is incrementally doled out at a rate that they can handle the change happening in their life because it's too scary to come all at once. So maybe this year I'm going to go back to work and get a job. And next year I might think about moving to a new, country. And the next time I might think about leaving my marriage. And the next time I'm going to go out and join a gym or get a new group of friends or do this or do you see what I'm saying? Sometimes the rate at which and the speed at which our life would change if we were literally healed in an instant and we were really doing all those things that we said we would do if we were fully functional and fully healed could be so scary, so internally scary, subconsciously, unconsciously. Remember, this isn't always conscious. To the inner being that just doesn't like change. Even if it's good change, it's terrified, right? Because it wants to keep you safe. It wants to keep you protected. It's not sure if you can handle that financially, emotionally, socially, whatever it is. And so it would rather hold on to the pain or the symptoms or the illness and dole it out over time at a rate that you find acceptable, less scary, less intense, not overwhelming, a safe rate, right? So that's another reason why people resist healing, the rate of change and the speed of change at which their life will change and they will have to change. A lot of these resistant parts are stuck not because they're getting something out of it, not because they're scared of change, even though they may be little bits of both truths in that. But a lot of times they're stuck because of a moral issue, a deeper issue. And that's what I want to discuss today. So I think I've uncovered something most recently with myself that I'd like to share and I hope is going to benefit you. Okay, so there's a part within me, let's use me as an example, because this is the work I've been doing lately to look really deep. There's a part within all of us who has been traumatized, violated, really sick. They've gone through something really deep, really personal, really traumatic, which chronic illness is, right? You've gone through something, you've experienced something which is not okay by you. You wish it didn't happen. You think, how could this have happened, right? And you think, it's not okay that this happened. This is not right, and this is not okay. This shouldn't have happened. We instinctually feel this shouldn't have happened. You know, whether it's losing somebody super important to us, maybe you lost a baby. You lost a little baby. This shouldn't have happened. Or you were raped by 12 men in a back alley. Shouldn't have happened. Right? So it's something really deep and traumatic and personal that you had to experience, where you spent a lot of time wishing that you could go back and make it so it never happened. So a lot of chronic illness, or a lot of our part in chronic illness, a lot of our whatever we have, you know, that we wish we could go back and change, or maybe it was an accident, or it was an experience, or whatever it is, and we think, how could I have made this so that this didn't happen? If only I could go back, right? If only I could change some things. Something happens, and you spend a lot of time wanting to go back. And this is normal. This is part of the healing process, really. We start to think like it shouldn't have happened. This is wrong. It's immoral. I wish I could go back. We spend a lot of time feeling and thinking this way. Ultimately, if you've been sick long enough, if you've been affected long enough, mentally, physically, or spiritually, you come to a conclusion or a place of acceptance. Not accepting that it was right, not accepting that it was like, you'll never accept maybe that was wrong, right? Somebody takes a gun and kills your mother right in front of you. You may never be able to forgive that person or look at that experience and think, I accept it, right? That was okay, because we instinctually feel like that's letting what should never have been off the hook. So we can't accept it. But eventually, if you've struggled with enough trauma for a long enough time, you come to a place, not of peace, not of forgiveness maybe, not of any of that, but of acceptance. And what do I mean by acceptance? Accepting the fact that it did happen. Just accepting reality. That happened. That was wrong, but I will never be able to go back and change it. That is the reality of the situation. I will never be able to go back. I will never be able to change it. I will never be able to make it right? And eventually we stop replaying the scene in our mind, replaying the conversations in our head, replaying that memory over and over, because eventually our mind finally and ultimately gives up and says, okay, I accept it. I accept reality. That's what we're really saying when we say acceptance. I accept the reality that this was so. It doesn't make me like it. It doesn't ever make me think it's okay. But I now accept it. And in doing so, we come to a place of peace, not of that we could ever forgive it, but we come to a place of peace that we can't change it. So we stop trying. We stop trying to go back. We stop reliving that memory, reliving that conversation, trying to go back to the moment where we could have made it right? Because our brain does this for a really long time. It tries to make it right, make it better. And when we finally and ultimately come to the realization that reality is such that it happened, we can't change it, we can't fix it, we can't go back, we can't undo it, we can't change it, we can't make it anything other than what it is. That takes a burden off of us. It takes a burden off of us from having to continually try in our mind and our hearts to make it something that it can never be. Parts of us, the parts that were stuck, thinking that they could change something, wanting so badly to make it right, gets freed up to accept reality and to go forward, and realizing that the only way to create something new is by going forward. But what happened with me, and what I suspect could be happening with you, is even though you feel like you're going forward, and even though you feel like you understand that going forward is the only way, parts of you are still stuck. So what are these parts that are still in resistance to healing? Why are they in resistance? What are they doing? And what can we do to overcome this? A lot of times when we decide that we can't emotionally change it or fix it or turn it into something else, we stop trying. But what we do start trying is to validate our story, okay? Because we know we can never change our story. We can never fix it. We can never alter our story. And so then instead of going forward the rest of our life, we spend the rest of our life, because I can never change this, because I can never fix it, I'm going to spend the duration looking for validation, at least validation, sympathy, empathy. This was wrong, that this never should have happened. So I know I can't change it. I'm going to stop replaying it. I'm going to stop trying to change it because I know I can't. But what I can change is making sure that you know, or that person knows, or every person in your life knows that it happened and that it was wrong, and that they validate that for you. And I maybe can't change the actual thing, but I can get your validation, your respect, your admiration, your empathy, your sympathy, connection. I need to connect with you on a level where you feel it was wrong too, where you feel sorry for me that it happened and that I can't change it. If enough people think that they feel bad for me and that it was wrong and that it never shouldn't have happened, then maybe somehow everybody feeling that way will change it, or will change me, will make me feel like I have enough support, enough sympathy, enough validation of my experience to leave it behind indefinitely. I don't want to leave it behind. I'm resistant to leaving it behind if it doesn't have meaning, if it doesn't impact, if it doesn't make a difference in your life, if it doesn't bring us closer together or bring connection. If some good doesn't come out of this, I can't leave it behind, right? I can't just leave it behind and walk away, because then I've struggled, I've suffered for years and years and years. Nobody knows it. It's gone unnoticed. There's no meaning attached to it. I feel like I've climbed the mountain, suffered in silence, right? We want the payoff. We're looking for the payoff. Like when the hero in the movie goes through all the suffering, goes through all the obstacles, comes out the other side, they get a payoff. I can learn something from this story. This is an inspirational story. This is a good story. Look at the adversity that this person went through and overcame. Look at the lessons that I get to learn because this person did this. You get respect, validation, admiration. You have connection. You get things from it. Okay, so it wasn't worthless. It wasn't meaningless. You didn't get raped in a back alley by 12 people, come to accept that you can never change it, and then also it doesn't matter to anybody else, so you just have to forget about it and carry on with your life. People can't do that because they're looking to add meaning. Like, at least if I got raped in a back alley by 12 people, at least if I can't change it, at least if it shouldn't have happened, I want you to know it shouldn't have happened. I want you to know that it happened. And I want you to connect with me, to honor me, to make me feel good about everything that I've gone through, that it mattered. Because if I know that it's just not lost in translation, it's just not meaningless, then I can feel like I'm adding to society. I can feel like I'm adding or giving meaning to life by giving something to you. And maybe that's inspiration or motivation or determination or connection or whatever it is. I'm giving, a gift has come out of something horrible. And when I can share that gift, when you validate my gift, my lesson, I feel it's safe to move forward. But I can't move forward knowing that it was meaningless, that it meant nothing, that nobody learned anything from this, that it didn't give anything to anybody. Nobody learned, nobody drew strength or courage or motivation. It didn't help me build a relationship, a stronger connection with anybody. It really did nothing but take from me. And we can't let something go until it gives to us. And as long as we're still victims and not victors, we don't want to let it go, because nobody likes the story hero that doesn't get to the end of the story. We only want to go forward if we can change, grow, transform. And we do that by giving meaning to what we've gone through and by sharing that meaning with others and having that validated back to us. But if we can't learn from it, grow from it, connect with others, and share and inspire others, then we have a really hard time letting go of it, because the story is incomplete. The transformation is incomplete, and it feels like a waste. It feels like a waste of a life, a waste of a lesson, a waste of an experience, a waste of our time, our energy, and everything we put into it if we can't share the lesson at the end, if we can't connect with somebody else that gives our story meaning. That's the thing that we can't walk away from. That's the resistance that we have to letting our stories go. Well, although it's normal to want connection, to want closure, to want transformation, to need connection, acceptance, respect, it's also really, really important to have validation as a form of healing. We look for validation. We need validation as part of the healing process because we don't want to let go until we feel validated. So, validation is part and parcel with healing, but victimization, which is where we often land when we have chronic illness, we don't want to let it go because we don't want to let something go that hasn't had meaning. But we're victims because we're holding on to something as an excuse as to why we can't go forward and why we'll never be enough, why we'll never connect with somebody, or why will never give us connection, why will never give us the happy outcome or the transformation or the validation. We can start to sense that we're not getting connection, we're not getting the validation we're looking for, and that's when we slide into victimization. That's when we slide into this hopelessness. What was the point? It didn't matter. It'll never matter, right? Because if we can't make it matter, we start to feel like a victim. Like because it happened, we're a victim. Because we can't change it, we're a victim. But mostly because we can't make it matter, or because we can't get validation from anyone else that we need this validation from, we're a victim. We will never let it go. So victims, as I've said, don't heal. And if you haven't watched my video on victimhood, I've got many. I've got lots of videos on why victims don't heal. And it's so important to understand what victimhood is and how we get stuck there. So watch those videos. If you find yourself getting triggered by certain things, or like lately I've been caught up in world events or caught up what's going on in the news, and my go-to is like, see, it's wrong. Like, see what I see. Like, believe what I believe. Like, see, don't you see? This is why I'm so upset. This is why I'm so angry. This is why I'm so stressed out. This is why I'm so agitated. This is why I feel so wronged. This is why I'm so hurt. This is how it relates to my story. This is why what happened to me in the past is wrong. Like this, don't you see? See? And you spend your time like trying to convince people, like, see? And the reason we do that is because we want to feel understood. We want to feel connected. We want to feel validated. It's not that we want to be right, but we want our story to be validated. We want them to say, yes, I see how what happened to you in the past, what's going on in the present. I see how that makes everything that happened to you in the past wrong. I see, and I'm going to learn from you. I appreciate your lessons. I appreciate the suffering you went through. I appreciate your hard work. I appreciate everything because I see, and because you've shown me this, I see, and my life will be better because of it. If we had that, we would all stop being resistant to healing. We would all stop trying to get everybody to see our point of view, to be right, to be heard, to be seen, to be validated. We would stop because we would feel like it mattered. We would feel validated. We wouldn't keep going. We wouldn't need everybody in the world to validate us. We need to be validated by people we love, especially by people we love, especially by people that matter to us, especially by people who judge or criticize us or maybe look down on us or don't understand. We want them to understand. We want them to see it how we see it, because we know if they did see it the way we saw it, that they would understand and they would accept us and love us. And that is the bottom line. We want acceptance. We want love. And we don't think we're going to get it unless they can see us, unless they can validate our story. Because if they understand us, if they understand our story, if they understand what we went through, and they agree with it, they validate it, then we feel completely accepted, completely loved, and completely disarmed. We feel ready to move forward. We can give this to ourselves and we don't know it. What part of us is resistant? What part of us is being resistant? Maybe not to healing, but to letting go of our illness. Because you might think, I'm not resistant to healing. But are you resistant to letting go of your illness? Are you resistant to the change? Are you resistant to the benefit or what you're getting from it? Are you resistant to not having people see you or connect with you or to validate your story? Are you resistant to having it feel meaningless? What are you resistant to? It's really important. This is one of the most important things to healing, to find out why, what part of us is resistant, because you have resistant parts. And these resistant parts are there for a reason. They feel like they are there to help you survive, to keep you safe, to get you to feel loved, accepted, really basic primal things. And if these aren't met, you're not going to heal, because you're going to be in resistance to healing, even though you don't want to be in resistance to healing. By being in resistance to letting go of your story, or to being in resistance to letting go of the validation you need, you're ultimately being in resistance to healing. You're ultimately preventing yourself from being able to take the steps it takes to move forward and heal. So, understanding that you definitely, if you have chronic illness, have a resistant part inside of you. There is resistance to healing on some level, resistance to letting go of something that would help you heal, resistance to invalidating your story or letting go of your story or needing something from someone or feeling loved or accepted or not wanting to, change or whatever it is. You're resistant. You are resistant. If you have chronic illness, you're resistant. Maybe you're resistant to letting go of the diagnosis, to letting go of the name, to letting go of the meaning of what it meant, what your story means or what it meant, or the value that you're holding on to, or the story that you can tell. The reason I've been doing this work lately is because my husband asked me a very important question last week. And it stunned me. It stunned both of us. Because I have always said, I will do whatever it takes to heal. I'll eat whatever it takes. I would eat dog shit for the rest of my life, every single meal, if it meant that I would never have another symptom and be physically free of illness. I would go to bed at whatever time. I would do all these things. Like I would do the diet piece. I will do whatever it takes to heal. Well, last week he asked me a question. I've been following the news, following what's going on in the world right now in 2021, 22, things that are bothering me, things that are bringing up trauma for me, triggering me. And my husband said to me, he said, what if you could let go of this story? What if I could snap my fingers and you would be 100% healed right this second? Nothing ever again, no symptom, no nerve pain, no anything left, no remnants of it at all, no trauma, no psychological scars, no triggers, no anything. You could be snapped at the snap of a finger to being completely trauma-free, totally healthy, but you literally have no remembrance of the story either. Your story completely vanishes. When I snap my fingers and you're well, your story also completely goes away. So you don't know about the side effects of the medication. You don't know, you didn't learn the lessons. You don't know, all of that goes away. You start from scratch. You're oblivious. You are naive. You're happy. You're free. But you can never use that story. You can never talk about it. You can never use it to hide behind or to express yourself through or to talk about. Your entire YouTube channel would go away because you don't have anything to talk about anymore. Maybe you would start one on photography or dogs, who knows? But all of that would just vanish at the same time. And I was like, man, I don't know. I don't know if I would do it. And he's like, stop and just listen to what you just said. You don't know if you would give it all up to be completely healed in every single way. Body, mind, soul. Never think of it again. It will never affect you or a family again for the rest of your life. But the story's gone. Everything about it is gone. No need to talk about it or reference it ever again. No need to be triggered by anything going on in the world. None of that. We're not looking at news stories. We're not worried how it's affecting our lives or the trauma. It's all just gone. And I was stunned, and he was stunned, that I wasn't sure I would give it up. Meaning, I'm not sure I would give up my story, even if it meant complete freedom. And that shocked me, because up until recently, I've been convinced that I would give up everything. But when it came to my story, giving up my story, never being able to talk about it again, never being able to share it, never being able to help anybody with it, inspire anybody with it, talk about it, reference it, use it in any way for good, or even as an excuse to hide behind or to cry about or anything. It's just gone. The story's gone into thin air. Would I do it? And I had to really think about that, and that brought shocking amounts of perspective into my life. And I was like, wow, I really have a resistant part. I'm resistant to giving up the story, to giving up what I went through, the story of what I went through, the illness. I'm resistant to it mattering, to it continuing to be alive, to continuing to feed it with my thoughts and my emotions and my heart. Like if I just let it die, let it go, let it completely go, and it did cease to exist because I ceased to give it any mental, emotional, or spiritual energy. And that's when I realized that I was resistant. There is a part of me that is still resistant to healing. And that's when I said, I need to look at my resistant part. Because remember, that part of you is there for a reason. And we need to identify it, acknowledge it, bring it to light, figure out why it's there, what it's resisting, and how you can give that to yourself. How you can give it to yourself so that you can let it go and move forward. Because we can't let it go until we feel a completion, until we feel a sense of completion. We don't want to let something go before we feel like we've resolved it, we've completed it, we've come to the end of the cycle, the story's over, and we need a resolution. So, how can you get yourself to the point of resolution so that you can use it to move forward? The key is to knowing that if you have chronic illness, you definitely have a resistant part inside you, and you must acknowledge that. You must accept that. You must investigate that part. Let it talk. You must let that part out. Feel what that part feels, not try to suppress it, reject it, deny it, disown it. Let it fully out. Figure out what that part needs, and then don't wait for the world to give that to you. Give it to yourself. Find a way to give it to yourself so that you can complete the process in yourself. You can look for resolution within yourself that gives you your permission to move forward, to let go, to create anew. The resistant part stops holding so tightly. And the other parts, the parts that you need to move forward, come up, rise up, take over, and allow you to be free, allow you to move forward, and allow you to heal. But as long as you have a resistant part, you won't heal. So you really need to look at this. It is important. I hope this video has been helpful. If you haven't subscribed, please do so. Please hit the like button. Even leave one comment, one word, tell me where you're from, anything, because this forces the YouTube algorithm to push out this video, to have more people see it, continuing to keep my channel alive. So I hope that you will do that for me, and I'll see you in the next video.